All right, everybody, welcome back to Off the Rails here for episode number 11, continuing with our guest trend here for at least a couple more weeks, if not even longer there, as these episodes keep getting longer and more enjoyable to listen to and watch. So, with that, Cameron, I will turn it over to you and we'll get this started.
Alrighty. This week we have John Darling on with us, also known as maybe the funniest man on Sugarwad for sure. Love to see your comments when you put them on
Thank
there,
you.
and also just in the morning.
Yeah.
When I'm coaching 5:30, I know I'm going to get a good banter of some sort from John, no matter what's going on. But no, we'll chat with you about a couple things. Obviously, we were just talking about a story with splitting some shorts open, which wasn't you.
Should we, withhold names to protect the innocent?
We could,
Yeah.
we could.
We got a lot of
But
stories
anyway,
too.
you're cheering somebody on, and,
Yes.
and you could finish the story. If you
Oh,
want.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that I did not expect joining a gym was the amount of humor, even at 5:30, you can get. And during a 1 rep max back squat day, we had a member. They definitely hit depth, but then their shorts kind of parted like the Red Sea in the
Yeah.
back, and we were cheering them on though. We didn't tell them. They still don't know.
So we finished the rep.
Oh yeah, finish the rep. He
Perfect.
still doesn't know. I won't say who it
I
is.
would imagine they probably know at this point. They probably got home, went to take the shorts off, and were like, "Oh man,
It's
what
like
happened?"
a 1 in 6 or 1 in 7 chance given
Yeah.
the 5:30 regulars. So
Yeah,
they can
yeah.
listen to this and think, "Oh no."
Yeah, somebody will know. I was saying I ripped my shorts
Yeah.
one time. It was back squatting as well.
Mhm.
I heard the rip in the bottom, and then I like stood up and I
Yeah.
was like, well, that definitely sounded like something ripped. And I started like looking and checking, and I couldn't
Yeah.
find it. And I found it later. It was actually like where the pocket seam had like gotten really
Ah,
tight, and then it ripped there. But more embarrassingly, I used to wear suits for work a lot. And I had gotten this one suit, and I went in for the morning shift, and I had to get money out of the safe, which was on
Mhm.
the ground. And I hadn't worn the suit in a while, and I'd been lifting a lot.
There you go.
And I worked with all women.
Uh-huh.
They were all front desk people for the place where I was working. And so I bent down to get money out of the safe, and
Man.
that was the ass crack of my pants. And I was like, well, I can't just go home.
Right,
I have to get the
right.
money to these cash registers.
Of course.
And
Right.
so I would just like, luckily I had compressions on that were also black, and I had
There
a
you
black
go.
suit on. So I was just like,
Sir.
hey, I ripped my pants, but
Yeah.
here's some money, by the way. I got to go drop off the rest of this, and then I'm gonna go home and change. But I needed, so I was like
Yeah.
walking through this clinic. Luckily, no one was really there. And yeah, so that was my big pants ripping story from squatting too much. So
Wonder if
it
anyone
can
knew.
happen. It can happen.
You think anyone knew in your case? Maybe they
Oh,
felt
yeah,
the energy in the room
I was
shift.
walking down the hallway, and like the security
Yeah.
guard at the time like was behind me. I was like, "Hey," and I was like, "I know,
Oh no.
I know." I got to get this done.
Yeah.
But hey, if your legs are so big that you're ripping your
Right.
pants, you're probably doing something right, or you're wearing too small of pants.
And
Which
that brings us to Squat Seminar, June 28th with Ryan Savage here at
well,
CrossFit Taylors.
do marketing.
Yeah,
which-
there you go.
yeah.
There you go. That's
we
why we
go.
told the story.
Yeah, that's why it all started. Well, no, I was gonna ask you and kind of start back at your story, your
Yeah.
beginning of CrossFit. We started with the foundations class.
Oh man. Yeah.
And we started with obviously squats. I think that's where we always start.
Absolutely.
And then we went into deadlift, and then the presses, and then the clean and jerks. And we'll talk about kind of how all that went. But I will say, and if Claire listens to this, she'll know too that like you were one of the first people I think we ran our new foundations course on.
Really?
It used to
Oh,
only
man.
be a free thing on Saturdays.
Okay.
Where people would come in for 2 hours, and I would do it in like a group setting. You were one of the first people that we had just switched over to doing 4 separate one-on-one
I did
foundation
not know
courses.
that.
So hopefully it felt like it went smooth because we definitely planned it. So let's talk
For
about
sure. It felt like first class service because you were like, I can come in at this time. I can come in whenever works for you. I'm like, man, this is a deal for like 101. Yeah.
I will say at that, when you responded, you're
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, 5:30 a.m. sounds great. I
Yeah.
was like, I did say
I
whatever.
thought so. Yeah, I was like, hey, it's on your website, man. I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to be there at 5:30.
But the thing is you do the 5:30 a.m. class.
Right,
You didn't make me
right.
get up at 5:30 and then all of a sudden be like, no, I'm going to be a nooner
Yeah.
now. Like you stuck with it, so it's perfectly fine. And I'm glad that
I
it.
feel like a lot of this conversation will center around like the 5:30 ecosystem, but the fact that y'all offer that is really cool because as someone who takes his oldest daughter to school in the morning, then works 8 to 5, and is not much of a late afternoon or night person, having the option to come in that early was fantastic because I
Yeah.
can do that, go home, pick up the girls or take them to school and all
Yeah.
that. So yeah,
Nice.
but that worked out well. But no, the foundations was great because I did not know at all what to expect, which is probably the case for a lot of new members, but I didn't have any close family or friends who did CrossFit. It really was just my wife was like, you should try it. I've heard of someone who did it and they liked it. And I was like, oh, I'm sure. Like,
Yeah.
no way. But she's like, no, but there's one like right across from 13 Stripes. Like, it's 2 minutes from their house. You have no
Yeah.
excuse. And so looked at the website, saw you had foundations, and thought, okay, this will be kind of a nice breezy entranceway.
Yeah.
But I feel like at some points in it, I felt like I'm going to be the first person to like fail foundations and have to retake it like I did with geometry in 7th grade. But no, I did end up graduating from
Don't
foundations.
I don't think we have a fail.
Yeah,
It's more of an introduction.
there you go. Yeah,
It's definitely, and I feel like we had this conversation of like, hey, we're not going to make you perfect. We're
right.
just trying to introduce you to these things, so that way when you do get in class, you've
Uh-huh.
kind of seen them, you've already kind of gotten to ask some questions, and you know the basics of it. So I know I worked with you and Claire worked with you.
For sure.
And I can't remember when you emailed me, but I do know your back blew up at one point.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, "Oh no, he's not coming back."
Right. Right.
So what made you? Because then you emailed me and you asked like what you could do. So
For
like my
sure.
thought
For
was
sure.
like, crap, like we went too far, like
Yeah.
because I don't think it really was bothering. I know it got. I think it was me, and it got tied at one point. And I was like, all right, well let's change it, but I think it was a little too late.
Right.
And then in which you weren't like really doing anything bad. I just your body wasn't quite ready for that movement. I don't think.
I wouldn't have been able to tell you a dumbbell versus a barbell versus Bluebell ice cream. Like any bell, I truly had never done it. I think we were doing deadlifts and I'm sure I just like ripped the slack out of it immediately and like yanked it with my lower back and did it. But there's really never a question of not coming back. I feel like the one thing that people who are new to CrossFit can look for is I'm not going to be good at everything. I might not be good at most things, but there's one strength I'll have, or maybe there's one personality trait you can kind of lean on. And for me, if there's someone I have a connection with in class, or there's a coach or another member, I don't want to let them down. I don't want to give up. So I thought, all right, I've already signed up for this with Cam. Like I got to come back, even if I'm
Yeah,
not doing the best or feel a little hurt.
that's
keep,
awesome.
Keep trying. You know.
Honestly, that's more people probably need that. Honestly,
Yeah.
because that one thing does happen, or that one thing gets in their way.
Mhm.
Like this thing comes up in their schedule, and then all of a sudden we just don't hear from them again.
Sure.
And it's like, oh, you were so close, or you were doing so well, or like if you just gave it a little bit more time. But we can't like make you do it. So
Sure.
like the fact that you're like, hey, like my back's tight. What stretches can I do
Right.
before I come back in for the next session?
Exactly.
And I gave Claire a heads up. I was like, hey, like his back got a little tight.
Yeah.
This is how we adjusted to make sure it worked with the cleans and snatches. Let's try to do the same thing. And then obviously here we are months later, and
Right.
now things are way better, and we've given it that shot. So
Absolutely. And that was, I think the way Foundations is structured is really great. I will say the weightlifting portion with Claire, it was like having like a university level professor like teach an elementary school kid in some ways. I was like, okay, there's a lot of new vocab words I'm having to learn. I think I did like a push snatch at one point. I was like making up new movements. I'm like, okay, what do I do? And my body would just like do some sort of spasm to get the bar to move. But yeah, it was a lot to learn at once, but you do it over and over. Eventually
Yeah.
you remember, you learn.
yeah. So coming out of foundation, so you went into
Yeah.
foundations, you didn't know what to expect.
Right.
We do run them during class.
For
Do
sure.
you feel like that helped you be able to kind of see what's going on in class,
Absolutely.
or was it a distraction?
No, because I mean, to be honest, when you're in the middle of moving, or when I'm in the middle of moving, I'm not super focused on what's going on around me. Like I can hear people saying like, "Oh, good job, John," or "Go, John," but I'm not like looking around being like, "What are they doing?" So I think it makes sense because whoever you're doing foundations with is going to be focused on your cues and what you're saying more so. But it is cool to like before and after kind of see what people are up to, see like, all right, in a couple weeks I might be doing some of this stuff. So you can kind of get a taste for it about how the flow of the class works, what the energy is like, what some of the movements you might try are. So yeah, that was
Cool.
nice.
And then so let's say because it took us 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah,
We did two
yeah.
and two
Uh-huh.
with yours. At the end of those 2 weeks, did you feel like what did you get out of foundation? Obviously
Sure.
you learned some things, but was there more like a okay, I kind of understand, like just
Right.
walk me through kind of your thought process like once foundations ended.
Yeah, because I really didn't know what a class would look like as far as the movements. I didn't know, is this going to be all weightlifting, all cardio, all gymnastics? And the cool thing about CrossFit is there is such a variety, but even in foundations, to learn, like, okay, we're going to do some of this, we're going to work on this technique, then I'm going to put you through kind of like a mini Metcon. You learn kind of to,
Look at you using big
hey, I
words.
know, yeah, yeah. Don't ask me to like spell it, but I know how to pronounce it. But yeah, you learn to kind of like pace yourself to some degree, or like, all right, I'm gonna do this, but I gotta have something in the tank for later, or figuring out what your relative strengths and weaknesses are on the different movements. So to have the mix of the technique work, but also some taste of what a class will look like. When you go into class, okay, I've done this once, or Cam talked about this. I'll probably still need to ask the coach again, which is okay. But I know, like, we're probably going to do a weightlifting portion. We're going to do some sort of Metcon. I sort of know how that works. And so you're not like a complete fish out of water.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was kind of our big goal when we changed the
Mhm.
foundations. Is we, as coaches, we all got together and we're like, all right, like here's our current thing.
Mhm.
Is it working? Is it not working? For the most part, we had gotten to the point where we grew so much that it
Mhm.
just was like we're putting a new person in with like 18 people or something,
Yeah.
and there's just a lot of slower time. So, was there anything that came up in like the first month that
Mhm.
you didn't know where it was in the gym, or you didn't know really how to do it, or maybe you had forgotten, and then like the coach maybe said it, and you're like, oh yeah, we
Yeah.
did do that, or was it just like a completely new, like something we didn't ever
Man.
cover?
I think, I think it would probably be impossible to cover all the movements in foundations, but I feel like we did a lot of the more common ones, like the more common Olympic lifts, jump rope, push ups, burpees, that kind of thing. Like, we didn't do wall walks, but that's probably not the thing that you put a foundations person through. We didn't do
Let's put
like,
you on your face.
yeah, handstand push ups. Like, we didn't do that, but
Right.
like, it's so some of that stuff is new or is still new. But I think as long as you're doing the things that are relatively common, or you're likely to be able to do as someone who's relatively new, I find that the more things you try or you can do, the more confident you'll be. I mean, there's still movements that I don't have yet. And it's also a mindset I try to have, is not like I don't do X or I don't do Y. It's I don't do that yet. I'm going to see what I can do that's close to that,
Yeah.
or I've done a scaling option for this once. Okay, cool. I'll kind of know what to do or
Yeah.
where to go from here to eventually get there. So
Cool. Cool.
was good. And something else I'll say or compliment you on about the foundations is that I like that it was a one-on-one coaching experience, because I think as a new member in the group setting, like, the warm-ups and the cues are great as a group, but sometimes you need a little bit more. And so knowing, like, okay, it's okay to ask the coach one-on-one, hey, I need you to come look at this, or I have a question about this. You feel comfortable kind of going to them one-on-one, and not
Yeah.
just like, okay, I'm only part of this group and I'll try to absorb what I can as a group, but I don't want to go bother the coach. And
Right.
so I think telling folks that are newer, no, it's okay. Come grab me if you have a question. That's what
Yeah.
I'm here for. Don't just sort of sit in the back of the class and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
hope no one sees you. That's not what it's about.
Yeah. And I do know people feel that way that you're kind of describing,
Really.
even after
Yeah.
we, and it's like, and this is just for everyone. And I wish there's a way we could say it better, but it's just like, hey, you are paying to get coached,
Sure.
and yeah, everyone else is here to get coached as well. But like, if you have the problem or something's bothering you,
Right.
like we need to know,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of times that you could look like you're doing it
Mhm.
right. But maybe something's not active or whatever.
Sure.
And it's like, well, or maybe we just, that one time we were looking at the people over here and you were over there.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, well, I'll look at John's next rep.
Yeah.
And then now you're like, oh, and it's like, well, I didn't see it, but
Right.
like,
Right.
because there is a group. So it's just like, yeah, I wish we could kind of figure out how to like, I guess, educate people more on like, hey, it's okay to ask questions, and like, or
Exactly.
like get our attention and be like, hey, can you, or
Mhm.
whatever. And it's like, yeah, like that's what we're here for. Obviously in the foundations, we are focused solely on you, but
Mhm.
then like still once you get into class, like we still want you to almost feel like you're getting one on
Sure.
one
Mhm.
when you need it, because like it's not
Right.
something that people don't need.
It
Like,
is it is tempting to not do that. Like, in psychology, it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, of like, you get a small level of knowledge and then you think, I'm an expert, or I don't need this help. And it even now I feel tempted sometimes, like, all right, I've done this 3 or 4 times. Like, I'm probably doing it right. Like, I don't need there's no way this could possibly improve. But yeah, I think it's great to say, like, hey, Nate, like, you come take a look. Like, this doesn't feel quite right. And
yeah.
Nate is fantastic about that. There's I remember one time I was deadlifting, and I was like, this doesn't feel like efficient. What's going on? And Nate very studiously just looks and was just like, something's wrong. I don't quite know what, but we'll figure it out. And I appreciated the honesty. Like, don't
Sure.
just like make something
Yeah.
up. And I think the coaches are great about that. Like, don't just be like, just try to hit depth or just do it better.
Try
Like,
harder.
yeah, it's okay to say as a member, I don't mind if you say, let me keep taking a look for a little bit. I don't quite know, but we're gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna
appreciate the
study it
honesty.
and
Yeah.
break it down, and we're gonna make you do 20 more reps than
Right.
you need to do, but
Right.
we're gonna know
Right.
by the end of
That's
this.
that's probably what Nate
Yeah.
did. But no, yeah, I'll say as a coach, don't be afraid to do that. You don't have to know instantly what to tell us.
So let's talk about coaches at
Yeah.
5:30 a.m. How do you?
Oh man, special breed. Yeah.
Well, you do now get a variety because I think obviously Chris has been
Right.
there.
Mhm.
I come in, Nate comes in, and then now y'all are getting a little taste
Ryan.
of Brian.
Yeah.
So like, what has the experience been as a 5:30 a.m. or like
Mhm.
with the different coaches, and like, do you feel like the variety is good, or do you like more consistency out of?
No, absolutely like the variety because I think there's also a benefit to getting like a fresh set of eyes. Like if only one of you watch this all the time, you might subconsciously get used to certain ways that we're moving, or even though it's not quite right, you might think, that's just what John does. Like I'll kind of let that slide. But if there's three other people coming in, odds are someone's going to say like, hey, has anyone ever noticed that you do this when you squat or whatever? Like,
Yeah.
have you tried making your grip wider? And so I think having the fresh set of eyes is great. Plus, having the variety of different, you know, energies or expertise is really fun. It's also drastically different going to like the noon class in the daylight. Like,
In the daylight.
oh my gosh,
You night walkers.
I went to one and like Wolf was coaching and he like gave me a cue and like hit the Dougie or something. And I'm like, this would never happen at 5:30. Like we don't have that kind of energy. But it's people people that are coming at 5:30 consistently, I feel like have something internally that's like, we're here to work. Like we joke around a lot, but it's like if I'm waking up at 5:30, I'm here to try to learn something.
Yeah, that's
Make some
fair.
progress.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Except for Kevin.
Oh
I
my
don't know if
gosh.
he's actually there to work. I think he's just there to be there.
He's there for some human connection, some
That's true.
counseling.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good.
That's
Some people
sounding
need
board for
that.
his life. Yeah.
Does Nate do a good job of giving Kevin his counseling every morning?
I feel like we gotta like defend Nate from Kevin, but then we gotta defend Kevin from Chris because sometimes I feel like Chris is about to like attack him. Chris is like a German Shepherd. I'm like, Kevin, if you nip him one more time, he's gonna get you. But no, Kevin did bring a dozen of free eggs for everyone
Oh.
on Monday. We had a member
5:30 a.m. Free eggs.
free eggs. We had a member eat one of them raw, and so
Ooh.
that was wild. But yeah, so
Oh.
you don't have to do that. That's I don't know. Hopefully the USDA isn't listening to this. But
Well,
anyway, so
I
yeah,
didn't know about it.
a lot of fringe benefits that you get from the class. Like
Like salmonella.
yeah, you get salmonella. I got rear-ended on the way out of 5:30,
Oh,
and
no.
I called Chris dude. I'm like, I think you fix cars, right? He's like, yeah, bring it by the shop. So a lot of great connections. You get some free eggs. Someone will fix your car.
There you go.
Who knows
Hopefully it
what's
wasn't
up?
Chris that rear-ended.
No. It was a stranger.
Oh,
But
okay.
I mean, I think the variety is fun. We want to see the coaches. I think the coaches want to see as many different members as they can and get exposure. So
Yeah, it does help with coaching. I'll say that to see other people to keep you more on your toes because, like you're saying, like if I see the same people over and over, there are benefits in whatever the opposite of benefits is, I can't think right now, but if I'm seeing the same people over and over, I can learn the cues that help them,
Right.
or I can know like, oh, you do struggle with keeping your back flat in a deadlift or sending your hips back right. So I know what to look for when you're moving. But over time, it's like, okay, I feel like I fixed that, or I've said the same thing, it's not really working. So
Yeah.
maybe I do start to get lazy. Versus if I continue to see multiple different people over and over, then it's like I'm constantly looking for what is going on, and so I'm just like
Sure.
learning and seeing and learning and seeing and learning and seeing. Which does help as well, I would say, as a coach, because the more people you see, the more reps you see, the better you're going to get at seeing what's wrong.
Right.
Or maybe like when the situation with Nate earlier, like, well, he didn't quite know it was wrong, but then he helped you fix it,
Exactly.
and then maybe he then went back and was like, oh, that was what was causing that.
Sure.
So now if I see that again in the future with a different member,
Mhm.
maybe I'll just try this first and see if it fixes the problem.
Exactly.
Which does help as well. So,
Do you as a
Cool.
coach enjoy the different classes? Do you like kind of the different personalities or different sort of flavors of the different ones? Or do you wish like in a perfect world, I wish I was just this time and this time.
No, I like the different varieties because they do all have their own personality.
Right.
Versus I feel like there's some classes or sometimes that I feel like we got to be on time. It's got to be structured.
Uh-huh.
It's got to be like, and it can be stressful
Mhm.
to be that tight and that structured all the time. And if you had to do that multiple times a day, it could become a
Sure.
lot. Versus like I feel like if I coach 2 or 3 classes and one of them maybe is the 9 a.m., which is a little more chill.
Right. Right.
And then maybe the noon's a little more fun. And then in the afternoon, I do have to have one of those more structured classes.
Right.
It's like, cool, I didn't have to like bury myself as a coach with all my energy for all 3. It was like, okay, this last one I really had to be focused on or
Yeah.
whatever. And also the different sizes of classes helps.
For sure.
Maybe I start my day with a smaller class.
Mhm.
I learned some things that maybe didn't go as well, or on the timeline I need to crunch together a little bit
Mhm.
more. And then when I do get hit with one of those bigger classes later, I've kind of had this time to like adjust or figure out, okay, I spent too much time coaching this, or I talked too much, so now I need to shorten that, or I need a bigger transition time because it took forever from the strength to the Metcon, and we ended like right at 6:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And it's like that's not going to work for 4:30. So I'm
Right.
going to need to bump that a couple minutes ahead.
Sure.
But like, so that's where coaching different classes and different sizes of classes and personality of classes, because like no matter what, I think 5:30 a.m. like they want to be out the door at 6:30.
Right. Especially during the school year.
So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, like we need to make sure we're on time. And that's kind of a good test time for me when I am coaching that of like, okay, here's what I think I want to do. Here's how I think it's going to go. And then I'm kind of like checking the clock during that
Right.
to see if that's actually happening. And then if it works, great. I'm going to try to repeat that later in the day. If it doesn't work, then sometimes you'll hear me yell, like,
Yeah.
hey guys, sorry, we ran up on time. You can leave your stuff out,
Right,
head
right.
home. I'll clean it up for you. Because like I don't want to hold you back because I know you got to
Sure,
go.
sure.
Versus the noon class, they like to hang out, and I know that, right? So I don't really tell them that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey, y'all can clean your stuff up because if not, you're gonna sit there and talk for 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Or if there are some people, because there are some people that have to go, like sometimes, yeah, leave that out, and we will all help clean
Right,
that up.
right.
Versus, so it's just different, but it is good because I think as a coach, it can feel monotonous sometimes or
Mhm.
get tiring if you're not getting different people, different
Sure.
connections, different atmospheres, environments, and different energies for sure. Definitely help. At least for me, I
Do you
like
feel
it.
like you've ever had to adjust programming based on like what 5:30 or 7:30 a.m. did? Like
Yeah.
Nate's nodding his head. Like I sometimes feel like we're the guinea pigs, and we're the guinea pigs that are like having to do this in the dark.
I would
Like,
say more so in the beginning.
yeah.
I think we've gotten a little better at it
Sure.
now. There's definitely still times where it's like, ooh, this is, or it opens our eyes to like Wednesday's workout with
Uh-huh.
the community
Oh,
community cup
man.
thing, right? So Ryan was the first one to coach that
Yeah.
class,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was an interval style thing. So then he texted the coaches, was like, "Hey, I tried to do a 2-minute delay, it didn't really work. Just as an FYI." So then it made me start thinking about what we
Uh-huh.
need to do, right? So that wasn't necessarily an adjustment on the programming, but it was an adjustment to, okay, we need to make sure that we're thinking about this a little more ahead of time and
Mhm.
see. So it started making us like think about that. But I will say in the beginning, when I was the only one coaching and programming, you have to learn how to program. It's
Sure,
not just
sure.
something that like you can like take a course on and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I know how to program perfectly. And because you have to learn who you're programming for. That's a
Right.
big part of it.
Right.
And there were definitely times I would coach the 5:30 a.m. And I think I can remember at least 2 or 3 times that I stopped them early. Where I was like,
Really?
hey, this is like 7 rounds, or maybe it was like a 20-minute AMRAP or something.
Yeah.
And I just remember coaching and just watching people get buried like halfway through
Interesting.
and just being like, this is too long.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
this is like the stimulus has been hit, and
Uh-huh.
if they keep going, it's gonna do more hurt
Right.
than.
Right.
So
Right.
then I would just yell, like, say it was a 20-minute AMRAP and they were 10 minutes in, like, 12 minutes today, 12-minute AMRAP,
Sure.
like, or whatever. And then I would go into sugar wide and I would adjust it for the rest of the day.
Right.
And that might be like 20 to 12 is a lot, but maybe it's like 20 to 16 or
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Or 7 to 5 rounds, of like, hey, I still want them to make sure they get some good work, but like, it wasn't that far off. But then you put that in the bank as a programmer of like, all right, next time I need to make sure I'm more aware, or, like I programmed this weightlifting thing that took longer than I thought. So now this 14-minute AMRAP, we only have 10 minutes for,
Yeah.
or whatever. So there's definitely a lot of that learning curve. But yeah, 5:30 a.m. is the guinea pig
Oh.
for sure. and then we kind of adjust the rest of the day if needed. Which again, I don't think that happens as much anymore.
Sure.
But I also feel like I have more experience with him, but then I know Nate like probably, and maybe he can talk to this more. Like I feel like you have people try things sometimes if you're thinking about programming something. Is that true?
Yeah, depending on like
Or
what
yourself?
not myself.
Oh.
I'm not a good test subject, but there have definitely been times where we'll have like Bentler or Claire or Rob Wolf like test some things just to be like, okay, is this like too difficult? Like if it's
Sure.
varying Rob, like I probably need to adjust it for regular
Uh-huh.
class. But yeah, I've definitely had people test things. And then there was one workout not too long ago where I came into the gym to coach at 5:30, wrote it on the whiteboard, and was like, "This is too easy. Like I need to up this." So that does happen, but not too much anymore.
And y'all have to account. I mean, we're in South Carolina coaching from 5:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. There could be a 30-degree swing in the weather. It could storm. It could snow. Like I feel like little adjustments the coaches
There's
have
3
to make.
words.
Yeah.
Suck it up.
Suck it up. Get out
Yeah.
there in the rain.
Hey, if it's not lightning,
Uh-huh.
you're running in the rain in my book.
Duh.
Like, I mean, and that's just, I think, probably the culture that I grew up in CrossFit in.
Yeah.
Of like back when it was more like not necessarily all garage gyms, but like we were in warehouses. Like, I mean, we're in a warehouse now, but like we didn't even have fans when I started.
Right.
Like there was shit that was like, so it was like honestly, the rain felt good. Like, yeah, I'm running out in the rain. But it was also like that's what was programmed today. That's what everyone else did. So it's like, okay, like literally, if it's not dangerous,
right,
then I mean, and I'm probably gonna be sweating anyway. Like, what's the difference in me being soaked in rain and soaked in sweat? Like,
that's a good point.
There's really not that much of a difference. And we don't make people do it, but it's like, hey, like realistically, like this isn't gonna hurt you. And like it's one of those things that like if you're really training for the unknown and unknowable, like running in the rain is something that could potentially happen that like maybe you just need to. So it's like trying to find that line of like do hard things, do what's been done today, but also like I'm gonna respect your choice. Like if you don't want, like
if
I'm not gonna make you
or something.
But usually you get like 1 or 2 people that are like, oh, I'll run in the rain, and then like the rest of the people are like, I guess I'll run in the rain.
Yeah, you'll be the one person.
The one person that's like, no, I'm not doing it. It's like, all right, cool. Like
there'll be one person on the bike erg, and you're like, oh no.
But I will say, like when we program running, we typically program it with other things that like a row or a bike would affect more than a run. So it's like, yeah, you're probably changing the workout if you're not running because like if we got like running and pull-ups, well now you're rowing and pull-ups, like you're pulling on the rower and you're pulling. So
man, that's one of those scaling options. There have been a couple where I've had a coach like, oh, you could do this instead, and I do it and I'm like, I should have just done what was written. Like this isn't easier. Like sometimes like the assault bike is like instead of running, I'm like, I should have just gone out there. Like I would rather have just ran.
I can at least walk.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
On a bike you can't really walk.
Right.
It's like this still sucks, even though I'm going slow. And honestly it's just worse that I'm going slow. So now I'm gonna go fast. Yeah. So yeah, no, I would say, and to Nate's point too, like, yeah, there's been times where it's like you're writing it on the board, and I think I've adjusted some stuff on the fly too of just like this looks like it's gonna take too long, or this looks like I think there was a Saturday that Nate had programmed, and I think I texted him on the way, and there was like double A&E with some other stuff, and I was like, wait, is this like double A or whatever? I don't remember what it was, and I was like, I just don't think that's gonna happen in that time frame. So then we adjusted it, and it still almost didn't happen. I was like, all right, I think I was right about that, but like, and it was just one of those like. I don't like we alternate weeks and I do my week, but I don't go back and like study it once I'm done with it. And then I don't go study Nate's, but then it's just like, there's this like you kind of look at the workout in the morning and then like when you've been doing it long enough, which obviously Nate's now noticed if he's coming in and seeing it on the board of like, that's too easy or that's too hard. It's like things just will click in your mind sometimes of like, wait, what was I thinking when I wrote this? And why did I think this was a good idea? Especially if like I do everything that we do. Like I do our programming. So if it comes like Wednesday and I'm beat up and I walk in to write the workout on the board and like I'm feeling some kind of way, then it's like I feel like everyone else probably feels this way, and this is going to be way too terrible today. Like, let me adjust this real quick because like we still want to take care of people, right?
Sure.
So I think that's a big thing of like, and I think I told Nate when he started programming of like, hey, I have this rule that like if you program it, you have to do it. Like you can't program some shitty workout and be like, oh, I don't feel like doing it
Right.
today, or
Sit there and laugh
you
at
know,
that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also, and that's another reason why, because like if you're feeling what you're programming,
Mhm.
it's gonna teach you, but then you're also gonna feel like, okay, maybe I'm learning how to adjust these things because I know what's happening. Which that I think that's a big part of programming and learning programming, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I could write like 100 workouts out and they could look good, but
Yeah.
until I've tested them or if I've never done them, then it's like I don't really know how that's gonna feel.
Uh-huh.
And that's, I mean, I think that's good programming. And I mean, they do that with the games, right? If we look
Sure.
at the CrossFit games, like Dave Castro has a team of people where
Mhm.
they write out workouts and then they have games level athletes test them.
Right.
And then they go, did that look good? Did that not look good? How did that feel?
Mhm.
And then they adjust things. And then so it's like, okay, like we need to be doing that. Not that we're going to do that for one event,
Mhm.
but if we're consistently doing that, then I know what 5 rounds of 10 toe to bar compared to 5 rounds of 20 toe to bar feels like.
Yeah.
So now I can program better if that's something I'm thinking about doing.
And something that's cool about our programming is one, I feel like it's always exciting and fresh. There aren't a whole lot of repeats. I mean, like the hero wads and the different girl wads, obviously those are going to be the same. But I feel like there's a lot of variety, but also there's like an underlying theme that I'm picking up, like Squattober, or we're in a rowing cycle, or we're doing Murph prep. So it's good to know. And we appreciate it when the coaches say, like, okay, the reason we're doing all this is because we're working up to like a 1 rep max cycle and stuff. So it's good to, I think, have that underlying theme communicated so we know if it feels like we just did this last week, like why? You're like, well, it's because,
Gotcha.
we're working towards a certain theme. So I feel like
I
that's
feel like that's a newer
beneficial.
thing that we do, and
Mhm.
Nate's helped kind of push that a little bit more when I let him start programming.
Yeah.
I never programmed with cycles really. Like
Mhm.
it would come up in my head, and I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
we're kind of working towards this. Um, it's just a difference in programming, and like you don't
Right.
always have to have a cycle, but I do
Sure.
like the cycles we're on, and I do appreciate and I do think we now have enough members who have been doing it long enough where they appreciate it and they
Right,
have the
right.
knowledge and they want to know the why, which is cool.
Mhm.
Versus I feel like in the beginning it was like we're just doing CrossFit because it's hard and I
Yeah.
don't care what's on the board today. We're just gonna do some fun shit and we're gonna get better.
Exactly.
And as long as I was adjusting that and making sure that it was constantly varied and whatnot, then I
Right.
think people were enjoying it. And as long as there was improvements, because we would constantly like test things, it was like, okay, people are still getting better. Cool, we're doing the right things. But now it is like, it's cool to have like okay, here's the goal. Here's how we're gonna work towards it, and then now people know, yeah, we're squatting 3
Right.
times this week.
Right.
This is why. Not
sense.
like, oh, we're squatting again, right? And and then it's up to us to make sure that it lines up, and then hopefully, which like with the squat clean cycle,
Uh-huh.
it paid off. Like we had a ton of PRs through the squat
Yeah.
clean cycle. So yeah, I do think it's helped. And again, I think people showed up more
Mhm.
because they knew that we were going to test that squat
Right.
clean, and it was like, okay, I'm going to go do that today. So that way, when the 1 rep day comes around, I feel good about it.
And I'm sure y'all know as coaches, folks are going to show up to those 1 rep max days. Everyone wants to get their PR and stuff. So, exactly. We're not going to do an overhead squat cycle, are we?
Um,
I hope I just didn't
Man,
give you a terrible idea. After
maybe
after Wednesday, we might need one.
just gonna hit some overhead squats.
That was exposing us that one on Wednesday.
There are a couple movements I feel like we don't do a lot of.
Yeah.
And I think that's just we do have focuses, but
Mhm.
I swear every year I'm like, we need to do more thrusters,
Yeah.
and I end up not programming thrusters as much as I feel like I should.
Everyone's been saying that, Cam. You won't believe how many people are like, please more thrusters. Yeah.
It's everyone's favorite movement.
No, I have a hot take later. I don't think that's the worst movement or the most painful.
Well, let's talk about it now. What's the worst movement in John
And I want
Darley?
to hear from all of y'all.
Okay.
Dumbbell box step overs, I think, with heavy dumbbells. Because it's a thruster, I feel like it has the stigma of everyone's like, oh, thrusters are hard. Like, going into it, like, this is kind of going to suck. But you can at least get some momentum coming up to hopefully help you get that bar overhead. A dumbbell box step up, man, it sneaks up on you. You think, like, okay, but this is kind of a box step over, which is a relatively less painful movement. But you get some 50s or something, you try to do that, you're like, I can't get up. I
Yeah.
can't get up this box. I'm gonna like have to roll over it.
That's up there and some tough ones. I will say competitively,
Yeah.
that's probably my least favorite movement.
Really? Okay.
Because I have to step high It's
Yep.
usually heavy.
Hmm.
And it's just one of those things that just buries me when I
Yeah.
have to do it.
Hmm.
But regular training, my least favorite movement is front squats.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate front squats. I'm not a strong person, and my front squat is actually weaker than my overhead squat.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
I'm
I
one of
wouldn't have
those
guessed
weird
that.
people. There's very few of us, but
Hmm.
that's me. And I don't know. I've talked to multiple people, and it's got something to do with the way I can stack an overhead position
Yeah.
versus the front being still a little bit more forward, maybe.
Hmm.
But yeah, just in general, front squats tend to. I don't enjoy them, and
Yeah.
they hurt me more, and then I go slower, and there's just a lot of
Uh
issues
huh.
there. So I don't like front squats.
I feel on that. As someone who's working on front rack mobility, front squats tend to make me just sort of either hold it all with my wrists or tip forward sometimes, which is not great. So yeah, that's a tough one.
We can work on that.
Back squats though, that I came into and I was like, all right, you don't have to have a front rack at all. Just get this on your back and like kind of sit down. Like we can do this.
Can do-
Good one to start with.
Nate, what's
Yeah.
your least favorite movement?
Um, I mean, honestly, I don't like thrusters. But probably my least favorite is a wall ball. I
Ooh.
don't like them.
Oh,
I mean,
is it because they're usually high volume,
yeah.
or is it just like
Just I just
because
don't
I mean
like
it's a lighter ththruster if
I
you
was gonna
think
say
about
it's
it.
essentially just a thruster with more explosive push, I guess, at the top. But yeah, that's a good one.
I think
That's a
in the
good call.
beginning, when I first started, I think wall balls was on my list of things that I really
Yeah.
just disliked. Um, and now I think I've gotten better at like the pattern of breathing, catching, like that kind of stuff. But high
Hmm.
volume wall balls still suck,
Sure.
for sure.
That'd be some interesting data. Do like a year-end data review of what, when we programmed, has the least amount of people come versus like what are the most popular. That'd be kind of cool to see. Like,
It'd be
hey, this
interesting.
was CrossFit Taylor's favorite workout or least favorite workouts.
Hmm.
Be curious to see that. But
What's your favorite movement?
oh gosh, favorite move. As far as lifting, probably back squats. I like that. Dumbbell snatches. I like. I just feel like they're more fun, like they're very high energy, and once you get kind of the rhythm of switching hands as you come down, when you get in a groove with those, I feel like they feel really good. It feels like, okay, I'm really moving, like I'm in some sort of flow. So
Nice.
that I don't mind. um Cardio wise, rowing, I feel like you're sitting down, and so that's kind of nice to like, you could get somewhat of a break and like, all right, I could get off my feet for a second,
To
but
breathe a little bit. Yeah, that's fair.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, so what month are we on with you for CrossFit? Where are
That
we at?
that's a good. I think it's about 9, and
Okay.
that's, yeah. I feel like I'm entering. I don't know. I won't say my sophomore experience, but yeah, that's actually what I want to talk about next. Is I feel like Foundations does give you that great base level, but as someone who's been doing it for like in between Foundations and maybe a year or two, it is tough sometimes to know like, all right, what's the next level of progression as far as scaling, or like when do I know to add like a lot more weight? Because I feel like you, or at least I'll speak for myself, you can get kind of used to, all right, this is the scale I do, this is the weight I usually put on the bar when we're doing this, when I do Fran I do this and this, and so it's hard to know like, all right, when do I bump this up, when do I kind of turn this knob? And so I feel like you almost need to check in with yourself or a coach maybe at that like 6 or 9 month mark and say like, hey, I've been doing this. Do you think it's time that I kind of change to this? Because it is ultimately, I feel like, up to me or up to the member to choose what they want to do for that class or what they want to get out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you can get comfortable maybe at any point you're at, like, I don't do double unders. I always do this. And it's like, when are you gonna try it?
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's a lot of those because there's so many movements that you can kind of get. This is my lane. This is what I usually do.
Yeah. It's definitely a mix of both.
Mhm.
It is up to us as coaches to try to continue to help you progress.
Right.
But then I do feel like it's up to the member to want to do that.
For sure.
Because
Mhm.
we can stand up there all day and be like, here's some options,
Right.
or whatever, but we can't make you try those options,
Mhm.
or really stick with an option.
Yeah.
Where that's where some of the education piece comes in. And I think in our last coaches meeting, we were talking about that a little bit more of like trying to continue to make sure people are
Mhm.
progressing and giving them different options because people will get stuck in kind of their
Sure.
lane. And really, what you are paying for is to get better and get healthier and
Uh-huh.
not just stay with the same thing. But there's still a lot of things that, like, maybe even 9 months in, you feel like you've been here a while, but like you are still kind of learning because we
For
have so
sure.
much
Mhm.
variety. You haven't really touched it that much.
Right.
So like my whole, I can't remember where I heard this, or maybe it's in the L1 or somewhere along the way, but like most people, depending on their previous athletic background, are considered like a novice beginner athlete
Sure. Yeah.
for the first 6 months to about a year and a half. So somewhere in that
Interesting.
area can be a developmental, like, hey, you learned a little quicker, cool.
Right. Right.
And then you're going to be an intermediate athlete until about the 3-year mark. So it's not like this, like 6 months,
Yeah.
6 months, and then like, oh, I got it. It's like, because there's so much to still learn and get like to dial in, that area kind of takes longer. And then from there, after 3 years, you should be more. And this isn't necessarily like you're going to be an RX athlete. Like you're
Right.
just considered like an advanced in the sense of like, more of what you're doing, your body, and you know where you're
You've
at.
got a lot of reps in place. You should
just-
know the technique.
So yeah, the beginning's like, hey, we're teaching you things.
Right.
The intermediate area is like, okay, we're teaching you different options because you now have the base things
Right.
down.
Mhm.
And then after a couple years of going through those options, now okay, if it's high volume, I should probably do this. If it's moderate volume, I should do this. And if it's less volume, or something I need to challenge myself on, here's my other option.
Yeah.
And then after that mark, you kind of, I would say 3 years is kind of the area where most people are like able to walk in, look at a workout and go, this is what I'm going to do today. This is what I'm going to do today. This is what I'm going to do today. I don't really have to ask. And I am going to still hit the stimulus of the workout.
Sure. Something I feel like our coaches are great at is there have been several days where maybe my back wasn't feeling the best or it was a newer movement, and maybe the workout is like a EMOM at 75%. But they say, like, don't worry about that. We might take 2 minutes and you'll do it at 60%. We're really going to work on your technique, because it's tempting as a member to just want to go with the flow of the class, and like you don't want to stick out because you're working on something or trying to take it slower or work on the technique. You want to be, with your buddies doing it
Yeah.
as it's programmed. But I think the coaches are really great at saying, hey, it's all right. We can change this out. I see, you know, take some plates on, take some plates off,
Yeah.
work on this. And you don't have to do it exactly as it's written if it's something you want to get better at sometimes, because, unless someone's coming early, staying late, or working with you one on one, sometimes it's hard to get that kind of
Right.
technique work if you're trying to do it.
Yeah. And that comes back to
Yeah.
that piece of like, we can coach it, but until you really like bring
Uh-huh.
it to a coach's attention of like, hey, this is something I really do want to get better at, or this is something that always bothers me, then it's like, okay, like let's take a little bit and learn
Yeah.
this a little bit more, and we can adjust the class to more of a one-on-one type of situation, but you're still involved in the class.
Sure,
It's not like,
sure,
hey, over
sure.
here in the corner, go do this. It's like
Right.
you're still going to be on the rack with everyone else, but you're going to do
Exactly.
this instead.
Right.
And every time for the next month that we do this movement, you're going to do this.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then hopefully that's how you can continue to progress. And then there is some self progression of like,
Sure.
okay, I've learned how to clean. And now instead of doing 75 pounds, I'm going to try 95 pounds.
Right,
And then that's either
right.
going to go well or it's not.
Uh-huh.
And you're going to learn from that. Or it's going to be just on that line. You're going to be like, okay, I did it. I'm going to do that again. Right. And then that's not really us coming by and be like, hey, you should add weight or take weight off.
Right.
That's you kind of challenging yourself. I know personally when I coach, I kind of have an idea where most athletes are.
Yeah.
And so if I'm going around the room before the workout starts and I see something that's a red flag,
Uh-huh.
hey,
You say something.
show me a couple of those reps real quick. Have you tried that yet?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've tried it. All right, show me. And then they'll give me 1 or 2 reps, and if the second one looks like a struggle, it's like, hey, we have like 30 of those today, right?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and knock that down a little bit. Because yeah, it might feel doable now, but I already know when you get off that bike,
Yeah.
that's not gonna feel like that.
Yeah, you and Nate are great at that, because I feel like sometimes it's tempting to like, I'm not really going to touch that weight till we get going. I'll kind of figure it out as I go. Like I don't want coach to see me like struggle with this in the warm up. I'll
I'm gonna
figure
try
it
to
out.
sneak
I'll
sneak
it
this in, even
Yeah.
though they're clearly watching everything I do.
Or you do one rep and it's terrible, and you're like, I bet the next one will be good.
Yeah.
I do want to jump in on that. I love the people that you do exactly that, right? Like,
Yeah.
show me a couple reps to see how this looks. It looks terrible, and they're like, you know what? I got it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this. Like, okay, I tried.
Just
Like,
getting loose, shaking off the
yeah,
rust, Nate.
you'll
That's
get-
all it is.
You'll get to rep 5 out of
Yeah.
30, and it's
Uh-huh.
like, then you'll see them strip it, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but it is kind of fun to see them.
Well, you can already tell when if an athlete is setting up their bar in a
Uh-huh.
way to strip weight,
Right.
they don't truly believe in their ability to
Yeah.
do it.
They got a bunch of
Right.
5s and 10s.
Like if
laid
the
out.
workout is 135 and
Uh-huh.
you have 25, 10, 10 on the bar and
Uh-huh.
not 45s, you're already telling yourself
Oh,
you're not
yeah.
going to get through this workout.
Yeah. If you're going all 10s and 15s, you're not believing in yourself that day.
We
but-
need to do it more often. So there was a noon class that I coached, and I was just like, man, these people just never listen.
Uh-huh.
And they always pick too heavy of a weight, and like they're always just a shit show just happens. So I let them load the bars, and I was
Yeah.
about to start the clock, and I was like, all right, everyone's happy with their weight, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, yeah. And I was like, cool. If you don't do this unbroken, or if you don't do whatever, I
Right.
forgot whatever it was. It was like an EMOM, I think. And I was like, then you have to do 10 burpees
Yeah.
for every minute you don't finish at the end of this. And they all like looked at me, and I was
That's
like,
good.
I am dead serious.
Yeah.
And they were just like, and all of a sudden, immediate just like started stripping weight,
yeah.
and like, and I was like, all right, now we're at the weight we should be using for this. Like, so I'm like, maybe I should just use that more often. Of just like,
Oh man.
hey, I'm not gonna tell you can't do it, but if you don't do this appropriately, or if you don't, I think I said if you don't hit the time cap, you had to
Right,
do like
right.
something. And then all of a sudden they were just all like, all right,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
all
adjust
right,
this.
let's
And
see,
then
yeah.
like everyone hit the time cap, and I was like, oh, cool. So that did work.
That's such a-
But it's also one of those like back pocket things that it's like
Right.
I can't use all the time.
Yeah, because
Um,
people know like Cam might get me on this one.
Yeah. But it was definitely like let them do it, and then I threw it at them like right at the end
Mhm.
instead of like, hey, like this is how, because then I feel like people might go too light.
Mhm.
You know, and there are one-on-one situations where it's like, okay, maybe you do need to get stronger or better at lifting. So like, yeah, you're not gonna hit the time cap today, but until you start touching this heavier weight,
Mhm.
you're probably not gonna ever get comfortable touching this heavier weight while
Right.
you're tired. So there's definitely
Mhm.
those situations. But yeah, I was gonna ask Nate, like, how do you handle like pre-workout? And obviously it
Mhm.
sounds like you kind of go around the room, but do you tell people like, hey, take weight off, or do you just go like, show me a couple reps and then like whatever?
Mhm.
I mean, it kind of depends how it looks. Like there have been times where it's like, oh, we need to take weight off this.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
back is rounding or whatever it might be. Like
Uh-huh.
there are times though where it's depending on the person, like I know how stubborn they are, and
Yeah.
like, they're just gonna have to figure it out for themselves to like understand. Like I was telling you the right thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it kind of depends person to person. Other people just like if I say like, hey, we need to lower it, they're like, yeah, you're probably right.
Right.
But yeah, and that is kind of the nice part about coaching like one class more often than others. I
Mhm.
kind of like you said, you kind of have an idea of like this person's here, they should probably be in this range or so.
Mhm.
Like if it's a 185 clean and I see John with 275 on the bar,
Yeah.
we need to have a chat on like I know you're not going to do 275 in a workout with the 30 cleans, right?
Yeah.
Nate
it
would just
kinda
be like, heck yeah, John, send it. Like, you got it. You got it. You're signed up with Dr. Ryan now.
Like,
Let's get us more PT
the
hours.
other hand, though, like if it's a deadlift workout and it's 135 and I
Uh-huh.
see you have 95, I'm probably going to say like,
Like, hey.
let's try and bump it up. Like,
Yeah.
I know seeing you now, like,
Mhm.
to your point, like 9 months, like I've seen you progress so much over this time. Like, let's try 135.
Yeah.
Like, let's see how that
Let's
goes.
get past that like
Yeah,
fear of
right.
like you can do something a
Yeah.
little bit more.
Like, you're not going to shatter if you do it. And as an athlete, all it takes is a coach coming up to say, like, that looks pretty good. Or like, hey, you're looking good on that. You might could bump it up. Like, it doesn't have to be much. Like, I feel like if we get that one little, like, yeah, that's looking pretty smooth. We're like, yes, like that's, or most people are like, sweet. Like, I would love to add more. Like,
a little confidence
yeah,
boost.
yeah.
Is there like a time you remember? Because I think one of the biggest things that happens in the beginning is like people see a workout,
Mm-hmm.
and it tends to be people will go lighter for too long,
Right.
because they feel like they have to almost do it unbroken.
That's what I was going to ask is do you feel like people tend to overscale or underscale? Maybe it kind of varies on the person and the time, but yeah, I feel like,
I'll give you an answer right now.
yeah,
Guys underscale.
underscale.
Guys think they can do more than they can, and they're always stripping weight.
Yeah. Right.
Ladies completely overscale most of the time
Yeah.
until they build the confidence or the want to lift more.
Interesting.
But their techniques are usually beautiful because they spend more time at lighter weights
Mm-hmm.
doing the movement over and over and with good form.
Yeah.
Versus guys who like do something new once and then they're like, all right, next time I'm RXing it.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like, well, that's not gonna go well. And they just it's
Right.
I don't necessarily know if it's an ego thing or if it's just like, oh, I'm a guy, I should be doing more. And
Yeah.
I know I did the same thing when I first started. I was in college, right? And I went in and it was me and this lady who had like a kid in a stroller. And I was
Mhm.
like, well, I should definitely be lifting more than her. And it was
Right.
like snatches or cleans or something. Then I definitely shouldn't have been lifting more than
Yeah.
her because
Yeah.
like I barely knew how to do it and her form was beautiful. And I ended up having to take weight off. But it was like that, like, I will say I can just throw a number out there, like 90% of the time,
Yep.
I'm battling guys to take weight off the bar because they probably have something too heavy.
Mhm.
And 90% of the time, I'm probably battling females that they're too light and they could do more.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That,
it,
that's a great question. I feel like I've had both. It is funny. Our gym, I assume a lot of our listeners are members of the gym. We have this app, Sugar Wad, where we track our PRs and our times. And it's really cool because I can make jokes on there. We can send gifts to people. You can like say, like, hey, good job. But there's also like this double-edged sword of like, you don't want to be last. You want to try to move yourself up. And that for me, there have definitely been times where I'm like, am I doing this because I think this is like the right weight or the right movement for me today? Or am I just trying to like not be last? And I think you have to like check yourself on that about like, what am I really doing
what
here?
do I
Like,
what do
yeah,
I need for today?
yeah.
Yeah,
Am I doing this for me or am I doing this so the person next to me is like, oh, good job, John. That was really intense or something. So,
yeah,
but yeah, there have been times where I feel like I've gone too easy. Like the first time I did Fran was it 135 thruster,
95.
95?
Yeah,
I think I did like 65 or something. And I was like, okay, this went by really fast. I should have done a little bit
it
more,
is meant
but
to be a fast workout.
yeah, yeah, but even still. And then the next time I did it, I think I asked you, I'm like, hey, I felt like this was pretty fast, but I could add more or I could do a different variation. Like I won't do ring rows, I'll do jumping pull ups or banded pull ups or something. And so my time was slower, but it was more of a load.
You
And
did something
so,
a little harder.
yeah.
Yeah,
And so, like, again, on Sugar Wad, it looked like I was slower, but I felt like this was a better stimulus. This was a better workout as you go
100%.
up. So I feel like don't let yourself get trapped by like what it says
Right.
on the
Like, yeah, you can look at times all day,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
until you look at the notes or what that person
Uh-huh.
did, right? I know my wife Taylor used to get kind of upset of like, oh, these skilled people, like they're just blowing. And it's like, yeah, but you probably were closer to the
Sure,
RX
sure.
actual standards than like whatever.
Mhm.
But like, and that's just everyone's on a different journey
Right.
for where they're at as long as they're scaling appropriately. But I will say, like, I think what I've learned is one of my cues now with even in pretty much every class,
Uh-huh.
especially if we've programmed something like a Fran or something that's a little harder, of like, hey, you know it's okay to rest.
Sure.
You don't have to
Mhm.
immediately strip weight. You don't have to do this unbroken.
Yeah.
Like if that bar seems a little heavy, like,
Mhm.
and I'll try to give an example. Like, hey, later today, I'm planning on doing singles,
Mhm.
or I'm planning on breaking it into 5 5 5 or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah.
And that way, people understand, like, oh, okay, like it's okay to not like
Mhm.
just rip this bar the whole time, or
Yeah.
it shouldn't necessarily feel easy always. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, we need to find that challenge, and that's
Mhm.
how we'll continue to get better.
Yes.
Um,
And as someone who's newer, that also I think extends to the sorts of workouts or movements you expose yourself to because it's tempting to like if you look the night before and say like, all right, tomorrow is rope climbs or handstand push-ups or whatever it is that you feel like I can't do that yet. It can be tempting to be like, I just won't come in. Like, what's the point? Like, I don't do this. But it's I found it's so much more rewarding to just be like, I'm gonna come anyway. I'm gonna do what I can. I'm not gonna get closer to being able to do that if I don't come. I'm definitely not gonna get closer sitting at home. So yeah, I think we all probably have our workouts we like or don't like when we see them.
yeah.
But I feel like you can't play
That's
favorites.
100% the
Yeah.
best way to look at it, and I only dislike sugar water because of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I always joke like, hey, back in the day, because I'm so old, we didn't have
Yeah.
apps that track things. Like
Just
you
come in
showed
and
up to
see
the
it.
gym, and
Yeah.
what was on the board was on the board, and you were just like, well,
Right.
that's what I'm doing today, and I'm not leaving because there's 8 other people here, and they're gonna watch me
Right.
walk out the
Right.
door. So like, I'm doing this, and like, you just didn't know. Like you were just like,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna go work out. I need to work out.
Hmm.
Whatever's there is there, and like we're gonna do it, or
Yeah.
we're gonna scale it to what we can.
Sure.
And I do wish sometimes that like we could, like, I
Not
mean,
release
people
it till
want to see
whatever.
it,
Yeah.
yeah, and at no point, like, even with that situation,
Yeah.
right? Like, especially with Instagram now, people would look to see what 5:30 a.m.
Yeah,
did,
yeah,
and then they would still choose whether they're coming in or not. So it doesn't really fix the problem. Versus like Instagram wasn't really a thing. It was like Facebook, and like randomly like people would put photos. Like
Yeah.
when CrossFit was new, it wasn't like, oh, let's just keep videoing this workout. Like it was legitimately like maybe a post every now and then to like try to get more people in the door.
Yeah.
But like you didn't know what the workout was unless you had a buddy that went earlier, you knew the coach and they were going to tell you, because a lot of times they wouldn't tell you, or you just went in and figured it out and you're just like, all right, well, this is what we're doing today. And then on the side of the whiteboard, you saw everyone else's scores. So that's what you were trying to beat, was what was right there in person. You didn't really get to like game plan at home, or like
Look at the end of the day,
like,
be like,
yeah,
okay,
like look
how do I stack
ahead
up?
of time. It was like, okay, I got to actually go in the gym, see the workout, see the scores, and like on my toes, like figure out like, okay, how do I want to pace this, or where do I think I'm going to be? And then like, obviously we scale it appropriately and things like that. So
that's a good way to look at it. You don't want to treat yourself like a fantasy football athlete and be like, I can optimize my week if I do this workout and this workout, and I'll be moving up the board if I do this. It's not.
And it's like people will ask like, do y'all release the whole week ahead? And it's like, no, because I don't want you cherry picking Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever. Like it's like you're gonna either show up to work out or you're not.
Yeah.
And we've programmed to make sure that if you show up consistently, you're gonna get a variation, not you picking and choosing what you're good at, and you're never gonna get good at the things that you're bad at because you're just not gonna show up.
I mean, if you are the type of person who wants to look early, which is me, like I was the kind of kid who was trying to like look at my Christmas presents and be like, ooh, what's that in there? I think use it to maybe look up technique or something. Like, especially when I first started, I would look at it and I would immediately go to YouTube and be like, how do you do a power clean? Like, which one is this? Yeah. No, it'll be like, okay, I think Cam said it's this. Like, what is that again? And so that way I could kind of come in and be like, all right, I think I know what we're doing. I remember this.
I feel a little more.
This term.
You know what, John? I wish we had more members like you. That'd be great. More preparation.
Yeah.
It's like the days we have all the percentage work and people come in and they wait till the brief and the warm up and they're like, oh, now I'm going to do my math to figure out these weights. And it's like, now we have to wait 10 minutes. And we just wasted so much time because last night you couldn't look and figure out your numbers for the day.
Dude, underappreciated part of CrossFit.
Quick fun fact right there for Sugar Watt. If you press the prepare button, it'll give you your
videos and
those people that don't.
I think you showed us that the other day.
People were like,
I don't know. Otherwise, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like we got to break out the TI-84s in here. Like, there's a lot of math. Like, or I'll get in the car and be like, okay, I think I had this plate and this plate. I've immediately forgotten what this adds up to. So yeah, got to be good at your basic arithmetic.
You do have to be good at gym math. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did sit on the floor and show the prepare button and go through all that with Sugar Watt. And I mean, I guess some people do like, hey, I don't want to look because I want to show up and I don't want to like talk myself out of going.
Yeah.
Which is part of it as well. I would say Sugar Watt's also good for, hey, if we're having a strong running day, like, to bring your running shoes if you have running shoes, or like, it's a 1 rep max day. I'm going to get my mind right so that when I go in the gym today, I'm like prepared to lift heavy.
Sure.
I'm not just like, oh shit, I'm lifting heavy. I didn't eat today, or like I wasn't like ready for that.
Worst day I've had it here. There was a night where I like didn't feel good, didn't eat dinner, came in like hadn't eaten breakfast, hadn't drank any water. We were doing some sort of like partner workout with like rope climbs and burpees, and I was just like, Nate, like I can't do it. I need like the magic fruit snacks you keep in the desk to like bring me back to life. But yeah, I feel like there are some days like you got to do at least some basic preparation of like sleep. Don't come in if you're extremely ill. Like, try to have eaten or drank something that day.
Yeah,
like,
you can definitely look and be like, oh yeah, I need to hydrate.
Right,
like,
especially depending on the workout. Like, please don't come in here like completely empty and expect it's gonna go well for you.
Happens more than you think.
Oh my gosh,
happens more than you think.
I'm sure. Okay, you talked, I think, a couple episodes ago, maybe one of the first two, about coaching and what sort of your like expectations or non-negotiables are for coaches. I'm curious what you and Nate think about someone who's looking to start CrossFit, ignoring the physical aspects. What do you feel like, if you're someone who wants to succeed or make it through, what do you feel like are kind of the non-negotiables or extremely importance to have for someone who wants to kind of get started, like attitude wise, or like listening, or
I mean, everything that you just talked about that you did is like it. Like
that's what I was wanting to say.
Yeah, it's basically you.
I'll do a personality foundations class.
You're gonna work with us on movements, but you're gonna talk to John about his minds.
I'll do a workshop about like how to not annoy
we do always say, like, CrossFit's for anybody but not for everybody, or
Right,
whatever that
right.
saying goes. And it's like, yeah, we can help anybody,
Sure.
but you mentally have to want
Mhm.
to do something, and try to be healthier.
Right.
Right. Like if you don't, if like, and I only can relate this to people that have come in and just not shown up again
Sure.
or whatever. And it's like, they think they want to get better.
Yeah.
Then they do something tough
Hmm.
and they're like, that was too hard. I
Yeah.
got out of breath or whatever. And like, they just decide not to come back because it wasn't easy enough. I think we talked about
Yeah.
this with the Ronnie episode, maybe,
Mhm.
of like, a lot of people just want the quick fix.
Yeah.
They want the pill. They want the special thing that's going to help them burn fat real quick,
Mhm.
or whatever. And it's like, for long-term health and wellness,
Yeah.
and like if you really want the results, so you're not depending on something, like you have to put in the work.
Right.
And if you're not willing to just show up and work, then like CrossFit's not for you.
Yeah.
Like, because that's really all we're asking you to do is try.
Right.
Right. Like if you just show up, so my non-negotiables are, you have to try,
Yeah.
you have to be consistent.
Hmm.
I need at least 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And I need you to have like a can-do attitude, or some kind of mindset of like, you know what, I'm gonna
Mhm.
try, but like I'm not gonna get upset that today didn't go well.
Sure.
Like it's more of like a, hey, I did something,
Hmm.
and if I come back tomorrow, I get to
Yeah.
do something again.
So you have
And
to be
like,
somewhat coachable, because I could see like maybe you're someone who 10 years ago was in great shape, or you're a competitive lifter, and you might think like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Like,
yeah,
I don't need your cue.
definitely have to be
Yeah.
coachable and personable.
Right.
And I guess you don't really have to be, because I mean, we do have different members with different
Sure.
like, and we learn as coaches, we learn those people. But I mean, the coachable part definitely has to be there. Like I need to be able to walk up to you and be able to like, hey, I'm seeing
Sure.
this, and this is what you're doing, and I want you to try this.
Hmm.
Now whether that feedback goes in or not, we find out later. And sometimes I think it's nerves of why it didn't go in, because
Right.
people
Right.
freak out, kind of like what you're saying in the
Yeah.
foundations, you did like a push snatch or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you were more worried about what else was going on in the room than actually listening and focusing on
Exactly.
what you were doing,
Hmm.
and what I was trying to tell you to do. You just were like, I got to do something and hope it's right.
Right. Right.
And it's like, no, like, but like, and we need that.
Mhm.
But like personality wise, like there are just some people, and we don't really have any here now, but like, especially when I opened, and I've learned how to, I'm not gonna say deal with, but like hard-headed people. Like
Mhm.
it's like, hey, like maybe this place isn't for you.
Right.
Like
Right.
if you're just not gonna listen to us, or you're not gonna like do what we ask you to do,
Sure.
then either a coach or myself is going to be like, hey, like, like I don't know how to help you, or maybe this isn't for you.
Hmm.
Or you're just probably gonna start getting a pretty hard cold shoulder from whoever's coaching,
Yeah.
because they've tried and tried and tried, and you're just not listening.
Mhm.
And then eventually that's probably gonna make you not want to be here.
Yeah.
Because like you feel like it's off, we feel like it's off,
Sure.
and it's just like at the end of the day, what you wanted was open gym, and we do classes. Like,
Right. Right.
that's really what it comes down to. Is like there are people that I want to do what I want to do,
Hmm.
and I don't really care about what the coach is saying, or I know more than them. I
Oh.
used to be a coach or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, like that's cool, but like there's still something wrong with what you're doing, and I'm
Sure.
still here to coach, and I'm still going to try to correct you. And if you're not going to take that feedback in, then why are you here?
Yeah.
Like really all you want is the equipment to do your own thing. And
Exactly.
so that's one of the like, I guess, big red flags is like, if you come in and you're just not willing to listen,
You're not going to respect the programming, or like, hey, the timer went off. Like, you gotta start putting the ball
right,
away.
like hey, you hit the time cap.
Yeah.
Or like if we're given the brief and you're just kind of like moseying around in the background acting like you don't need to listen, then it's
Right,
like, okay, that's
right.
probably somebody that like later, like they're also gonna like do their own, I don't know. And there's a balance there. But yeah, there's definitely like member wise, like there's some things we're looking for. And I will say, there's people that have walked in that I've whether it was our old foundations, current foundations, they just like, we're gonna sign up.
Mhm.
There's definitely people that like I've talked to and I've been like, there's no way that person's coming back.
Right. Right.
Like just the vibe and like the
Didn't go well.
conversation and like just the way the workout went. And I'm just like, man, that's like, I tried and maybe I should have done something different. And those people have been here for years.
Yeah.
They've come back, they've
Mhm.
signed up, and they're like some of our best members.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, that did work. And then there's people that have come in and I'm like, all right, this person's sold, like they're signing up tomorrow, like,
they'd be great
and
at
I'm
the
already like putting in my head of like, all right, let's add them as a member, like revenue wise, we're gonna go up, like
Yeah.
great, and then like we never see them again,
hmm
and it's like I don't know what's inside certain people that
Yeah.
like, and the only thing I can think of is like they just really, really, really believe and want to get better,
hmm
like
hmm
they know this is good for me and I need to do it.
Right.
And I think if that's there, then they realize CrossFit's good for them. If it's just this fad thing or this like I want it to be easy thing,
Sure.
I just want to say I do CrossFit, they're probably not going to be here very long.
And you've probably picked this up from doing kind of years of foundations or new members, but a lot of people, myself included, come into CrossFit with a set of ideas about what it's going to be like. And to be honest, I think a lot of them are like, this is extremely intense. It's kind of dangerous. Someone's going to yell at me probably. Like, I don't know if I can make it through the class. So, like, I think a lot of people come into it like kind of like a little bit apprehensive of like, I don't know, like this is kind of wild. Like this might go poorly. And so some of that nervousness or vibes that you think might aren't great or just that person came in here like
Scared.
terrified, like I'm gonna immediately like shatter myself somehow or
Yeah.
like let myself or the coach down. And they the more they come back, they realize like, okay, it is tough. There is a level of risk, but you can do it. You're gonna have to practice, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
So,
And we're here to help you and
yeah.
support you.
Uh-huh.
Right. And that's the main thing. What about you, Nate? Is there certain things, I guess, non-negotiables?
Yeah.
You can re-ask your question if you
Right.
want.
Yeah. Yeah. Things that like if someone's like a new member or considering CrossFit, you feel like, throwing out the physical aspects, assuming they have some basic level of mobility that you think like mentally, personality wise, attitude wise, like you got to at least have these things to come give it a shot. Or do you feel like, hey, if you're willing to walk in the door, we can maybe make it work?
I mean, I think that's half the battle right
Yeah.
there. It's
Mhm.
like I am not the perfect member in any shape or way. Like I know that so much about myself. Like there was a day just a couple weeks ago where
Uh-huh.
it's like my win that day was literally just showing up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
For
I didn't
sure.
really want the coaching. I
Mhm.
honest to God did not want to be here that day.
Yeah.
Like, but for me, like, and I showed up.
hmm
So I think if someone is able to at least walk in the door, I'm
Mhm.
willing to have a better. I'm willing to at least try and work with them.
Yeah.
But I don't need you to be like an athlete. I don't need
Sure.
you to be D1. I don't need you to even be that flexible at the beginning. Like
Mhm.
I don't need all these things that even myself thought I had to have when I walked into the first CrossFit gym.
Right.
Like I've kind of talked about it before. Is like my experience with CrossFit was the CrossFit Games.
Sure.
Like, I remember the first date I went on with Claire. I thought she was going to be the most picky eater I've ever seen. Like I ordered like this chicken salad thing
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
I thought she
Uh-huh.
was going to want. She ordered a burger or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh.
but
Okay.
I do think from just a member, like I need them to at least want to walk in the door and show up
Mhm.
at least a little bit, and then just again, like Cam said, just have the ability to be coached
Mhm.
90% of the time.
Yeah.
Everyone has their day where it's like I don't want this, and that's totally cool. Like I
Yeah.
don't mind that at all. But if you're at least willing to listen 90%, then that's all I need.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
As a coach, are there ways that you wish members would talk to non-members about CrossFit that's maybe different? Because sometimes I find it difficult to like explain it to people who don't come. Because I try to be honest, like I'm not going to sugarcoat it and be like, oh, it's easy, you'll be fine. Like it's no big deal. I'm like, it's going to be tough. You're going to be pretty tired, but it's fun. And I've explained to people and had them be like, "Oh, you're really selling it. You're selling it hard, John." I'm like, I'm not going to lie to you about what
Yeah.
it is.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's perfect because they do need to kind of know what they're getting into. You don't want them to be like, oh, you're not going to do anything today. And then
Yeah,
all of a sudden
yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
I just died. But we don't want to scare them either. Like, oh, it's the
Exactly.
worst thing you've ever done in your life.
Right, right.
And it also depends on who you are and who you're talking to.
Sure.
Like some people want that, like, and it obviously, I guess if they're your friends, you kind of
Yeah.
know them, and it's like,
Right.
okay, they need something hard. I'm going to tell them it's hard.
Mhm.
Oh, they need to be a little like sugar coated. I'm going to tell them
Yeah.
like, hey, like everyone scales, and anyone can do it.
Or
And
they want
that's
some community or some friends.
when
Yeah.
someone walks in the door, like I have to make a quick assessment of like, okay, how do I want to talk about CrossFit
Yeah.
to this person? And
Uh-huh.
a lot of that starts with asking them questions of like, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
And then based off that conversation, we can then talk about like, what level of CrossFit I think they're looking for, because we
Yeah.
can do any of it, right?
Sure.
And so when people are having conversations outside of here, hopefully they're doing the same thing of like assessing, like, oh, I'm talking to my mom about CrossFit.
Yeah.
And she like needs to move, but like probably doesn't want to do anything scary. Like, hey, mom, like, yeah, you could still do this. Like,
Right.
there's some people in here that like, this is the type of stuff they do. And like, but then it's like, if I'm talking to my friend who just got out of playing professional football,
Yeah.
like I can be like, hey, it's this hard thing that like is going to help keep you in shape and be competitive, and like you're going to really feel like you're still working hard and staying in shape, right? So it's like two different ends of the spectrum, which is why again we say it's for anybody but not for everybody. It's like it's more about like, are they just willing? And to Nate's point, like if you walk in the door, I'm willing to work with you. What I need you to do is walk in the door the second time.
Yes. Yeah.
Like if you walk in the door the second time, it means you want to do it.
Yeah.
Now it's up to me and the community to make sure that we give you the experience you're looking for so that you come back in again.
Yeah.
The first time we're trying to do that, but it's more of you trying to figure out, is this thing kind of what I want to do? And then if you come back the second time, then okay, you had a good experience the first time. You understand a little bit of what CrossFit is. Now we need to give you that same thing, which we do. Like I feel like all of our classes run the same. And then it's like, okay, now you've walked in, and now it's just like, let's make sure that we keep you in that zone of like, you did something, but you didn't do too much.
Yes.
And that's on us, right? To make sure that we're doing that. But if you come in the second time, it's usually like that person, I would say there's an 80% plus chance that they're going to sign up.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's been rare that we've had someone come in that second time and be like, yeah, no, this still isn't it.
I think the members who have been here the longest, a lot of them are some of the best at making someone feel welcome. Like I remember coming in, and like Kevin, who we tease a lot, every time he remembered my name, he would ask me questions about like, hey, what are you looking to get out of it? Have you ever done something like this before? Like, where are you from? And a lot of the other people who had been here for a while, I could tell were really making that effort to remember my name, to ask questions, even though I was probably calling them the wrong name because I hadn't learned yet. So,
well, I think a big thing is we've all been there.
Right.
And I like to think our members want us to be successful.
For
so
sure.
they're going to try to encourage people that look like they want to sign up to also sign up.
Yeah.
But then I think just in general, we all like to see other people get better.
For sure.
Like if we're in here getting better, and like whoever's in the class with me is trying to get better, then like I'm going to encourage them to get better. And that comes down to, if someone's in foundations and I'm in the class, hey, like you showed up today, you did something, I hope you get better.
Absolutely.
And I think we've kind of gotten to the point now too with the new foundations of like, hey, like we're going to be doing these during class.
Right.
And so people know like this is a potential future member. And I'm still going to treat them like I would treat any other member. Absolutely. Of like, hey, like hey, how's it going? Hey, you did great. Cause they see you in the back or in the front or whatever, doing your little Metcon too. And they're like, heck yeah. Like you're grinding, like, let's go. Because then you're hopefully potentially join them in class, and then you're going to be side by side with them. So that's awesome. And yeah, I think our members do a really good job of just helping encourage newer people,
right?
Of like, hey, I've been there, or hey, you crushed it today, or whatever. And because again, we're all here to get better,
exactly,
and it doesn't matter what level you're at. If you tried, and you're out of breath and you're sweaty, just like everybody else. Then you did what you were supposed to do today.
And that's something I wish I could have told John when I started, is like, I wouldn't say it gets easier. Like, I don't feel like it's got to a point where like, oh, this is a breeze. Like I can just come in here and blow through this and go home and be like, no big deal. But you learn that you're capable of more than you thought. And the more consistent you are, you're seeing the same people and the same coaches 3, 4, 5 hours a week. And so they become community and friends, and you learn, about each other, and you learn how to encourage each other. And so that I wasn't prepared for, is like, hey, I'm spending as much time with these people as almost anyone outside of like my family or maybe my coworkers. So,
yeah, 100%.
Like, I would say for someone who's new, be open to like making friends or being part of this, because you're going to be seeing these people a good portion of your week in some sense.
Yeah, you're definitely, if you're consistent, you might as well say hi and ask someone their name.
Right. Right. It'll make it go better for everyone to be. Yeah.
One of the things, what you said earlier, like we always tell people too, like, hey, just so you know, CrossFit's never going to get easier.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You get better and then you just push harder.
Exactly.
And it just means you can do more. And like, you should always be tired, because if not, you're not working out, right? Like the goal is for you to work out. And then to Nate's point earlier of like, I didn't know, or what'd you say? I thought I needed to be in shape or something. It's like people will literally be like, I'm gonna go like do this so I can get in shape for
Right,
CrossFit. It's
right.
like you can't.
Like you have to
Like
like get
you just
pre-game.
need to come in and start.
Yeah.
And then once you start, we can figure out where you're at. And then because like no matter what you do at another gym, unless you're doing CrossFit workouts without a coach watching you, a CrossFit workout isn't going to feel the same. Like
Right.
it's just different because we're not doing reps, resting.
Mhm.
Most of the time, it's hey, we're going to do this and we're trying to do it as fast as possible or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's like, hey, if you want to do CrossFit,
Mhm.
you need to walk in the door and let the coach help you start doing CrossFit,
Mhm.
and then you'll get better at CrossFit,
Yeah.
and hopefully you'll start seeing progress,
Yeah.
which that's kind of the goal. So
Exactly.
yeah. Well, I mean, so far I feel like we've gotten a pretty solid experience from
Absolutely.
you as a member, and like I feel like you've gotten a lot out of it.
For sure.
How do you feel like CrossFit's affected you, like outside of the
Oh
gym,
man.
like family, golfing? I know you're a big
Yeah,
golfer, things like that.
absolutely. Yeah, definitely added a few yards to the drive. But no, as someone with young kids, a lot of the movements really are functional, like putting our youngest, to change a diaper. That's a Romanian deadlift, like picking them up out of the crib. That's like a clean, or there's you can see these parallels to different things. Like little kids are closer to the floor, so you got to be able to squat down and get up. That's a burpee. So there's like parallels between all these, and just feel like so much of fatherhood or parenthood is like getting up from what you were doing to go do something else. And the more you have in the tank for that, the more mobility, the more endurance you have, the better a time everyone will have. So I feel like it's been a drastic improvement in like what I feel like I have in the tank on a given day to like be active, to get up off the couch when they call instead of being like, what is it? Like, no, I'm going to get up. I'll go see what's going on. Like, just little things like that to like, uh, going to Conisty Park recently with both of my kids, and one of them got tired and didn't want to walk. And it's like, I can carry you these past few miles back up the hill. Like I can,
Nice.
little just stuff like that has been great. And
Cool.
so, and after the hurricane, we had a big tree fall. I was like, I can get all these logs out. I could move. I
I
could
know
move
how
these
to do
logs.
this.
Yeah, I could carry this and get all this. Just daily stuff. You'll be better at your day to day activities. I feel like almost no matter what they are.
Do you
So
think it's more of a mental shift or a physical shift?
it's both. It's proving to yourself like I can do this. Like I'm the sort of person who can do something I didn't think I could before. You like kind of prove yourself wrong or right depending on your perspective every week of like I thought I could do this and I did, or I didn't think I could do this and I did, or I was really close. And so you think of yourself as someone who's more resilient and stronger, but then physically it's like, hey, I actually can move more. I'm not as tired at the end of the day. I can be more useful if someone asks me to help them move. And so it's both. I think they work together and reinforce each other.
Nice. Cool. Heck yeah. Well, do you have any other questions for me or for Nate or
Ooh,
anything in general?
let's see. I do. I have some fun ones prepared if we have
Oh man,
time.
yeah, we got
I'll,
time
I'll, I'll
for
pick.
sure.
I'll pick out a couple. Okay, this is a little game I made up called Rep or No Rep, and this is where I want to hear from you and Nate. Is this
All
a
right.
thumbs up, thumbs down? You approve, you disapprove. Okay, here's the take. If you're consistently coaching or working out at 5:30 a.m., you deserve a 20% bonus on your sugar WOD score or a 20% bonus from Cam's Venmo. Do you the serious no, I know you're gonna say no, but do you feel like there's a qualitative difference in like working out super early or super late, or do you feel like it kind of evens out?
I think if there is a consistency in the time,
Yeah,
there's not a difference.
right.
But if it's like, yeah, I normally work out in the afternoon, and then all of a sudden I go at 5:30
Right.
a.m. Yeah, I'm gonna see a drop off, I think. But and when people switch, right?
Yeah.
Like I know
Yeah.
Chris dude
Uh-huh.
used to work out in the afternoons, and then he made the decision, especially after they had a
Mhm.
kid, of like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
5:30 a.m. have to do 5:30 a.m. And I know for a little while, like his numbers dropped off, like
Mhm.
his energy wasn't there. But then like once he got into the routine of it, I would say like his scores are pretty standard
Man.
for what they used to be.
Yeah.
And so I do think it's more of a routine thing, not necessarily a
Mhm.
time thing. And how much time do you give yourself before you come to the gym?
Sure.
And that could be, if I'm going to work out at 9 a.m. and I got to sleep in until 8:30, and then I just like roll in here right out of bed, like that's going to be affected versus if I woke up
Right.
at 7 and I come to 9 or whatever. So I think 5:30 a.m. obviously it's a little earlier, but there's probably a difference in the people that get up at like 4:30 to get here for 5:30 and the ones that are like, oh, I live 5 minutes away.
5:15.
I'm going to wake up at 5:15, put clothes on and show up at 5:30.
Absolutely.
And so I do think, I mean, and you do have maybe a little more of an advantage of like, hey, I've had a day to like move around and like get my body moving. But like we try to make the warm-ups better for 5:30 a.m. of like, hey, we know you need to get moving. So we're gonna do that. Then we're gonna do this thing. Versus in the afternoon, we can get a little more away with like we don't have to do so much of the stretching and stuff. We can just kind of like, hey, let's go ahead and grab a barbell or like get to it a little faster. But I do think it's a routine thing more than a time thing.
Exactly.
You know, so no 20% bonus, maybe one. I might do a 1% bonus
1%.
on your sugar wad score.
I'll start adding.
Yeah, but not 20%.
Okay.
That seems drastic.
All right, Nate and Cam, country music on the playlist. Are you rep or no rep on country?
I would say yeah. I'm fine with it.
Really? Man.
It's not on there a lot. Because it is one of those controversial things. I try to do consistent type of music that I feel like most people would enjoy. And for some reason, the people that don't like country really don't like country. And so it's like, okay, we can't really put country on, even though like a lot of people are okay with it. I think Taylor, my wife, she doesn't like country music. But the new Country Down Under like mixes, she likes because she was like, it's small enough split that it's like the catchy parts of the song.
Agreed.
And she's like, I can do this. And then I think people that like country also enjoy it. So it's like, okay, I think those are good for if we're gonna play country music. But like full country songs, it's kind of hard to get away with.
Agreed. You same Nate, pro country somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, when we're here like on a Saturday or Sunday, like it's country on like it, like I also don't really hear music when I'm working out. So I don't. It can be screamo, it can be rap, it can be country.
It's a strange sensation. I've noticed that, especially during like a really fast Metcon, you almost like just zone it out.
Well, it was. I think it was. It must have been Monday.
Yeah,
I was on the bike, just kind of warming up and just kind of loosening up from some other things, and the song "I'm So Humble" by like Andy Samberg came on the like
really like Lonely Island guy.
Like the pop movie he did.
Yeah,
and it was kind of funny. Like I noticed it right away, but not a single person in the gym noticed it. And it's just like a ridiculous comedy song. But so I don't really notice. But yes, when we are here, like I have country, the Down Under country. There was a whole little thing in the afternoon with like Colin and Robbie about that.
They like it. Makes sense.
I would say my feedback when people are like, oh, the music, or can you change this or whatever. If you're in the warm-up area or like it's not your class, then like no, I'm not going to change the music because like you're just sitting there and these people are actually working out. B, if you're in class and you're asking me to change the music, you're probably not going hard enough. Like you need to be working out harder because like you might react to a lyric or something like in between a rest. But like if you're really that bothered by the song that's on, then you're not focused enough on the work that's in front of you.
Makes sense.
Because I'm like Nate, I can go through an entire 1 hour class and you could ask me 5 minutes later what songs played.
You're like, I don't know.
I wouldn't know.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I just associate country with like chilling on the lake, drinking a beer. It doesn't get my brain in like fitness mode. It's like relaxation mode. But yeah.
Yeah. And there are times too, like where I'm in here by myself and I'll put country on because I'm either doing accessory work or something that's a little more slow paced, or I'm just like want to change it up. But you know, I think like in a class setting, there's just so much going on that I don't, and I shouldn't say I will notice if a slow song comes on. Like as long as it's something upbeat or like pace pushing, then like it's like okay, like we're probably gonna be all right. But if like some slow, I don't know, piano style song came on and like I have to take a break, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, this is what is happening. Right. And I'm gonna be like, all right, let's change it. So like it is rare, but like it does happen.
Agreed. Makes sense. All right. This is a hot personal pet peeve. The equipment wipe down technique at CrossFit Taylors is a real liability. I've seen some stuff. What do y'all think? Day's laughing.
The equipment wiped down.
how people clean up, how people are wiping down. I think
You
I
think
think
it's a liability?
I think we're COVID 25
Uh-oh.
here.
Uh-oh.
What do you
Maybe
think,
I'm
Jake?
missing some stuff.
Oh, you got to watch, man.
What do you so the way I preface, if it's soft, it needs to be wiped down.
Agreed.
So if there's a padding of some sort, we need to spray it and wipe.
People aren't
and
even
then,
spraying, Cam. People are doing a dry cloth on this stuff.
John,
like I
why are
said,
you not yelling at them?
We got people eating raw eggs, doing no wipe down. Like I'm telling you,
Man,
this is we're in trouble here.
I'm not here. I'm telling you.
Things fall apart. But I'll tell you who kills it. Robbie at 5:30 used to be a busboy at a diner. It's spotless when he does it. Of course, he's probably also been doing like 30 extra reps, and he's got it really sweaty, so he's got to do it. But
What equipment are you feeling like isn't
the benches? I'm saying you could scrape that and make some more element powder.
Ooh.
Some of these people are leaving. I think another Saturday workshop idea. Like, what should you come on, y'all? Like, we got to get it together on the wipe down.
All right. Well, at this point, we haven't had any staff or MRSA, so
Yeah.
I think we're doing all right.
There you go. Maybe it's okay.
Maybe we're doing. I mean, hey, if you're sharing a bench with somebody, though, that's kind of on you.
Oh man, sharing a bench or a bike in a partner wad. Like I've gotten stuck like sharing with like some of our female members. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like this is neither one of us what's going on here.
Hey, you're here to sweat, and if you have good personal hygiene, you're probably gonna go home or do something after this that's gonna help clean you up a little bit.
One would hope.
But yeah, I guess I gotta start keeping an eye on some bench wipe downs.
That's what I'm saying. It's okay. Last one. Water breaks during the Metcon are just an excuse to rest.
I've had cottonmouth a couple times where it's like I need water.
Yeah.
And that's usually when I take too much pre-workout, and then I still have like chalkiness in my mouth.
Oh man.
It's again, I might be different, but like I go to bed with water by me at night.
Yeah.
Because if I wake up and I want water, it's there. But if I go to bed and there's not a water there, I immediately notice how dry my mouth is and I need water. And I think the same thing happens when I work out. So if I have a water nearby, I probably won't use it.
Yeah.
But it's there if I need it. If I don't have a water, I will get 1 or 2 rounds in and start freaking out of like, wait, I need something to sip. But I will say for most people that, if you're doing more than just like a quick, like, bend down, it's a break. And if it's not nearby, like if it's like on the other side of the room and you're like, oh, I gotta go get my water, it's like, that wasn't it.
Agreed. What do you think, Nate? What are the other sneaky breaks? The shoe tie is a classic.
I mean, everything you just kind of said.
My shoes come untied and I will tie them. But I have seen people untie their shoe to retie their shoe to be like, oh, it wasn't tight enough. And it's like, nah, dog, like you needed a break and you're trying to find a reason not to just be sitting there.
There's other ones. Throw the jump rope to where you got to go retrieve it. That's another good one. Yeah, there's a couple ways.
What are the tips? Let me hear some good ones.
I feel like I'm like giving up like state secrets here, but like spacing your equipment out really far. Like if you're doing one with different machines, like put the bike way over there, put your bar in the other corner. Gives you a good little walk, so you can catch your breath.
There's definitely times I'm like, y'all could bring the bikes and just be like, no, I want to walk over there.
They're gonna be on that wall. I'm gonna have my bar over here near where we check in. Yeah.
Trying to think of things. I mean, I'm just a sweaty human, so like when it gets hot, I'll usually bring a towel or something and like try to have it close by. And then there are times that you need. I think what I've learned over time is, are you the type of person that knows that something's maybe going to happen and you're prepared for it?
Yeah.
Or are you like, oh, if it happens, cool, it'll give me a break and I'll have to figure it out as I go.
Right.
Like, hey, we're doing an AMRAP today. No. I'll use my break to go get chalk.
Sure.
I'm not going to get it ahead of time.
Oh, chalk. That's a classic one. Yep.
Yeah. The old chalk bucket.
Chalk.
Too. Yep. That'll be. Well, and you'll see the difference too, in like in the open when it like matters and people are signed up. All of a sudden, their chalk's right there, their water's right there.
So
all these, they're like, okay, like in between, I'm gonna do this because I'm not gonna do that. But like, and it's like, dog, that ain't gonna work today because you don't do that all year long.
Exactly.
So it's like you're still gonna take your long rest,
right?
But yeah, that I would say most people like their water break is probably not needed or it's too long for sure. It doesn't. They're not hurting enough.
Yeah. Good lesson. Figure out how to sneak in your rest.
Back to new people though, like in foundations, I have to stop them from drinking water.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's this thing like in a normal gym, you're like, oh, I'm resting. I should probably go get
Yeah.
water. And like, if you're chugging water in the middle of a CrossFit workout,
Start
you're gonna
sloshing
start
around.
slashing around, and all of a
Yes.
sudden it's not gonna feel good. So I think there is a learning experience that has to happen of like, water's not a good excuse
No.
because it's just gonna make it worse.
That is a good tip because as someone who is new and did that, you feel like if I'm taking a break, I should do something to make it look like I'm not just really tired. It's like if I get water, it looks like, oh, there's a reason I had to stop, I had to rehydrate. But like, no, it's okay.
And now you're like,
Need to
that
breathe.
person's getting water.
Yeah, I see what you're doing.
They're just
yeah,
tired.
that's the trick.
Sweet.
Man.
Well, John, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
You are definitely the funniest guy on Sugar Wad, and also
Thank you.
the comments I get, just I love it. I know every morning I show up at 5:30. I'm gonna get a good Johnism. Maybe I'll start calling him that.
Thank you.
But I'm not just saying that. I get people all the time that will text me and be like, "Yo, did you see John's comment on Sugar Wad today?" And I'm like, "I didn't, but now I
I'll
gotta
try.
go look. I gotta go look." So keep those coming for sure.
It's all right. You can laugh in CrossFit. You don't have to come here and be miserable.
100%. 100%. And it keeps the community vibes going.
Right.
And I love the banter between you and Kevin.
Oh,
I'm really
gosh.
looking forward to fantasy football this year.
Oh, I can't wait.
With you in the group because I just can't even imagine what's about to go down. So
I love it.
yeah, heck yeah.
Well, thanks, y'all. Happy
Yeah,
to be
man.
on.
Nate, you want to close it down for us?
All right, then. Another episode of Off the Rails. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. The subscriber count is surprisingly still going up, so we definitely appreciate that. Go ahead, hit that like button as well. It does help the video get more recommended to people outside of the subscriber base. And then leave a comment if you do have any questions as well. I know we haven't been really doing the comment questions here lately, but we'll get back to those here in soon enough in due time. So thank you all for watching, and this has been another episode of Off the Rails.